Welcome to Supplier Spot Spotlight, the podcast where we shine a light on the RV, park, and campground outdoor hospitality industry. Join us as we chat with suppliers, park owners, and staff, uncovering insights, strategies, and stories that will elevate your outdoor experience. Get ready for inspiration and innovation in every episode.
Hey there, everybody. Bobby Sorden here, coming back to you with Supplier Spot Spotlight Podcast. I've got my next guest. I got the amazing Diana Kelly. She's the Executive Director and President of California Outdoor Hospitality Association. Hey, Diana, how are you?
Hey, Bobby. Thanks for having me. I
Oh,
appreciate
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'm just so glad you're on here. You've been great to talk to. I think I met you, the first time I actually met you in person, I believe was 2 years ago at the glamping show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we met in person. I know we talked a little bit because the last company I used to work with, I don't like to say that name anymore, but the last company I used to work with was one of your members of the association. And we talked about your show that you did 2 years ago, and we were one of the sponsors, and we were on the software panel and all that cool stuff. So I never got to meet you before that show, but I remember I was at the glamping show, and me and my colleague was sitting at a table, and I think you saw our Firefly shirts or something. You came up and you're like, "Are you?" You actually went to my colleague. You're like, "Are you Bobby?" And I jumped in. I'm like, "Well, who's asking? Because if you don't want to know who it is, that is Bobby. But if you want to know, then so." But that's what I remember.
That. Actually, that's funny. Yeah.
And then, of course, we came out and did your show 2 years ago, which was, I guess, a year and a half ago, which I thought was a great show. I know you struggled a little bit with weather. It was like pouring rain that week, but
it was.
Yeah, I really enjoyed your show, though, especially that software panel that you put together. I mean, it was great. It was hosted. The questions you came up with was really awesome. I really liked that format, so I was excited to be part of that. But yeah, thank you for being on the show with me.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, great. So we're going to talk a little bit about CalOHA, California Outdoor Hospitality Association. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit first about Supplier Spot, because California was one of the, I think it was like the second or third association to get on a Supplier Spot. As I mentioned to you before we started recording this, I'm in the middle right now of completely rebuilding Supplier Spot. I've said this on almost every podcast now, so I'm sure people are watching them. They're probably getting tired of me saying that, but I always like people to know that I'm completely rebuilding it because the platform I used before was quick and simple, and I just didn't like the layout. So I've been rebuilding it. So right now I have it up on the maintenance screen until it's 100% ready to go. But anyways, when you got on it, tell me a little bit about what you think about Supplier Spot and what you think and go from there.
I think it's a great idea. I know that the state associations typically have some information out there, directories and things like that, but probably not all of them, right? So to bring all the suppliers together in one location and basically offer a mini trade show of sorts, or a virtual trade show, I think is really awesome. I think it would be a big help as a campground owner and operator to know I had one place to go where I could find things. Yeah. I also love the idea that you sort of do a Supplier Spot marketplace, like Facebook marketplace, but for the campground owners and operators, where if they have something that's still of value, they could offer it up to somebody else. And that doesn't always happen when you're in an area that you might be the only other campground. So then what are you going to do with it, right? So this way they can actually get it out there to other people all over the country. And I think that is would be a really, really useful tool if I owned a campground.
Yeah, and that's my whole goal behind it. And as you can see, I'm actually showing you what I've been working on. But of course, you look there at the top, it says it's not live because I don't have it live right now. I want to make sure it's 100% much better. But this is actually the new design. It looks similar to the old one, but it's so much better, so much nicer, so much easier to use. And like you said, the suppliers can actually have their own little store on there. So that's one of the cool things about it is, even though some of the suppliers might have their own store on their website, a lot of them ask me, well, can I just put like the items on there that are the most popular at campgrounds? And I'm like, yeah, you certainly can. You just throw those like 4 or 5 items on there that are the most popular. And then of course they'll always have a link over to their website too, if they want them to. So, and I think I told you too off camera, one thing that I really worked on is I got questions from some RV parks and campground owners. And they were saying, hey, I have some stuff around my park that I'm not using anymore that I know other parks can use. Can I sell it on there as well? I said, yeah, you can go on and sign up, create your own little store called, Bob's RV Park or something, and, put your items on there. So that was my goal behind it, is just have a centralized location for a one-stop spot.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. And I love that all the associations have a spot on
Yep.
there, a place to be as well,
Yep.
because we are such an integral part of the industry. Making sure that they're recognized as well is really important.
Exactly. And that's my whole goal behind it was I definitely don't want to take any business away from associations members. In fact, I even encourage suppliers that I talk to say, hey, what state are you based out of? Are you nationwide or where do you focus? Like,
Mhm.
have you heard of California Association? You should probably think about joining them because you get a lot of great educational and information from there. And I know I've had that work out with a lot of the other shows. Like we were talking earlier about Bobby Cornwell with Florida.
Right.
There's a
Mhm.
few suppliers that I talked to before his show this year that got on the supplier spot that heard about his show but never actually got into it. So I did the intro. Well, now they're Florida members and they go to his show. And that's my goal is just try to promote everybody across the nation because I don't want it just to be specific for one area. So, I promote everything from the states to the nationals to everything because I just want a place for campground owners and suppliers to be able to go and find information.
It's awesome.
So,
Great
yeah.
job. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, I'm glad California's on there, but let's get into the nuts and bolts now. You get your opportunity now to talk about you and everything you've done. And I always like to know, one of my biggest questions is how did you get involved with California or CalOHA and how did it start? And, just what information you want to talk about. And I'll pull up your website here to help guide the questions and go from there. So tell us a little bit about you and California.
Well, the association has actually been around for 50 years. This is our 50th anniversary.
Wow. Awesome.
And it was really started by a group of campground owners and operators that just felt that the RV industry needed a voice in the
Okay.
legislature. They needed, somebody to be able to go in and fight against laws that were going to be damaging and fight for things that could enhance the industry. And so this kind of scrappy group of owner operators got together, created the association, and then instantly started they took on the National Park Service, they took on the state, because at one point in California, all RV parks and campgrounds were considered mobile home parks.
Oh,
So
okay.
they took on the state and they wrote the Special Occupancy Parks Act, which broke RV parks out. They instituted the law that put all of the numbers on the freeway signs as opposed to just names,
Okay.
which made it easier for RVers towing an RV or towing a travel trailer to know how many exits away they needed to, to start
Yeah.
to move over, right? To
Mhm.
navigate their way
Oh,
across
that's
the
really
freeway
cool.
to get off. So they did things like that. They invited, Ronald Reagan to come to one of their conventions. And, so there were some really interesting things that this group
Yeah.
did years ago. So the association was here long before I ever got involved. And I came on board kind of randomly. It was sort of a random story, but not really important. It was just something that I did. I got involved right before COVID. So
Oh,
it
okay.
was like death by fire. Really, it was like jump in or you're going to get sunk. So um, some of this information on here is a little bit outdated. We've got a new slate of directors.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's great though. Looking at these, I don't know who's still on or who's not, but a lot of these people I recognize right off the bat, like Ruben. I talked to him; he's going to be on the show a little bit later, and
Mhm.
a lot of these other people, like Aaron. Yeah, I've talked to her a few times. So, yeah, this is great though. I mean, it seems like a really good platform for a lot of California parks to go and check out and get more information if they're not on here already.
Well, California is really highly regulated, right? So RV parks and campgrounds are under the jurisdiction of housing and community development.
Okay.
So oftentimes when somebody decides they're going to buy or open a campground, they don't realize the extent of the regulatory process and what
Mm-hmm.
that looks like. And so oftentimes I am acting in an advisory capacity or as a
Mm-hmm.
consultant to people that are new to the industry and
Yeah.
really have no idea, that they have to go through the state and what does
Mm-hmm.
that look like. And there's just a lot of pieces to it that they're considered a special occupancy park, not technically an RV park, right? So there's just a lot of parts and pieces that you will be able to get answers to on our website.
Great. Yeah. And I know that's probably one of the most important things, especially for new park owners. I'm on
Mhm.
several Facebook groups and other forums and stuff out there. And I always see questions from new park owners, saying, hey, a new park owner here, and I want to add a few sites. What do I need to do? Or, so that's what's great to know that if they're in California, they have a place to go to, an outlet to go check it out on. So yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah. I mean, I'm just browsing through your website here. There's a lot of good information on here. So I don't know if there's anything
We
specific.
operate on what we call our pillars of success, or CAMP:
Okay.
communications, advocacy, marketing, and programs.
Okay.
So under our communications pillar, it's everything that we do to get information out to the RV parks and campgrounds in California. Everything from our website to a convention to our weekly e-news to our printed newsletter to webinars, emails,
Oh, yeah.
supplier information. So anything we can do to get information out is under our communications pillar. The advocacy pillar is everything I do at the state level. Being that we are highly regulated, there's a lot of times that I'm spending all day at the Capitol, sitting in on hearings, fighting bills, running bills, opposing things. So
Yeah.
there's a lot that happens there, and it's a lot to pay attention to, right?
Mhm.
You can't just jump into a bill at the last minute. You really have to be engaged all the way along and understand what is happening and what's being run,
Right.
which can be a challenge for sure to understand.
Yeah.
And then under marketing, we market to the camping consumer through our Camp California brand. So Camp California is a separate brand for us, and that is how we market all of the RV parks and campgrounds, is through our Camp California brand. We have our website. We have the Camper's Guide to California. And then we also do a lot of social media marketing for the campground owners and operators. So we have our Camp California Facebook and Instagram, and we do news blasts. So we do use Constant Contact to get news blasts out to about 50,000 camping consumers. We do consumer shows. So anything that we can do to get um, the camping consumer more interested in our California campgrounds and our members is how we operate that.
Cool.
If you click on the flip book right there, if you scroll down and click on the flip book, that'll show you the camper's guide.
Oh,
Last
great.
year's edition, we have a theme to every campground every year. Last year was tips and tricks to camp like a pro. All of the members are listed in here, but we also try and create a publication that the camper wants to take back to camp with them, sit down with their glass of wine, read through this. And while they're reading the editorial, while they're looking through, they're also discovering new places to camp.
Yeah.
We feature a region each year. So last year's region, or 2024's region, was San Diego, and the
Okay.
2025 region will be the desert.
Oh, okay.
So they'll
Oh,
get the
that's
big
really
map
cool.
up front and everything like that. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't even know you guys had a little flip book on here. So
yeah,
yeah,
it really, the idea behind it is it's really supposed to be something that people want to hang on to, that they keep, they keep in their motorhome. The crossword puzzle is all based on the information that you find in there
yeah.
about some of the campgrounds. So we really try and engage the consumer to drive that traffic back to our members. And then under programs, we have everything from free legal assistance. We offer every single member unlimited calls, free calls to our legal team. We have a print program that is super exceptional. We
Mhm.
provide regulatory signage. We
Now,
we have
is
music.
that under the Camp California one, or is that under CalOHA?
That's under the CalOHA because it's
Right.
a member benefit. Um, we do music licensing, which, as you know, is a hot topic these
Yes.
days. And I'll give you a quick rundown on that. So I was contacted recently by yet another music licensing agency. So there are now 5 agencies. And in order to be properly licensed, to be perfectly honest, in order to be properly licensed, so if you want to play unlimited music, any music, you don't want to think about it, you just want all kinds of songs playing, you would actually have to have a license with every single agency, all 5 of
Jeez.
those. I think it's ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
over the top. It's too expensive. It's too much. when I got contacted by that last one, I was just like, this is just way too much.
Yeah.
So we do have some information that I am putting out to give the campground owners and operators some direction on how to navigate this, because literally if you want to just be able to play anything, you would have to have a license from all of them, and that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of things that they can do, and there's some laws in place that they may not even need to have a license. I know you do a lot of karaoke, and one of the things that you had brought up to me the other day that I looked into was, rather than buying a music license just to host karaoke nights during the summer, just get a karaoke service that is already licensed, and you can buy 3 months worth rather than 12 months of service. So there's some things like that the campgrounds, I think, really need to start looking into, as opposed to this idea that, well, we've always had to have a music license. This is the way we've always done it, so we have to do it this way. It isn't. And there are a lot of options out there. So that's also one of the services we provide as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's like I mentioned to you whenever we were talking is, a lot of the people in the industry know I have a DJ business here in Colorado Springs, and I started that. It's going to date me back in 1999. And, so I had to go through all that music licensing stuff as well. And, I did a lot of weddings, got into the hotels and, doing the weddings and corporate events, and they wanted to make sure that you were all legitimate, you had liability insurance, all that good stuff. And that's why, I really got into doing the karaoke stuff. I have some friends here that own several bars and pubs around here. And, karaoke night's a huge success. And the great thing about it is I just buy the commercial license, and that karaoke software takes care of all the licensing. I just play the music that only that software can provide me. And, it's just a lot of fun. And I know that's what we talked a little bit about is I want to start helping promote that at upcoming conferences and expos, which I think is a great segue leading us into something that you've been working on. Well, I can really say you now. I can say we, I guess, that we've been working on. And I know this idea came about, I think, just about almost a year ago. Or I think you've had an idea longer than that. It just kind of came out in the open to me last year at the glamping show. So you want to talk a little bit about that and what your plans are with going with that? And then we'll do a teaser now. And of course, like we said before we started recording, is we'll do a full-fledged podcast strictly promoting what you're working on.
Sure, absolutely. I am working on something called the Western States Campground Solutions Summit. So the idea behind it is that out here in the West, we don't have a lot of shows, right? We don't have a lot of industry shows at all. As a matter of fact, we only have 3 state associations. So by and large, the states out West kind of get neglected in a way. There's not a lot of participation. And so the idea behind the Western States show is to bring all 11 Western states together to invite campground owners and operators from every single state to come to one central location and have educational seminars, a trade show, an opportunity to network, possibly even some, campground tours, if we can pull that off. But it was really a way to just bring those owners and operators together that otherwise probably wouldn't go to shows on the other side of the Rockies, right? They just don't. It's a long ways. It's a big trip. So that just doesn't usually happen. And it gives the suppliers an opportunity to meet with all of these 11 states in one location.
Yeah.
That's one of the other things when I started asking suppliers about this. Hey, would this be of interest? Do you think this would be something that you would like to see happen? And they were all jumping at it because it's just hard to get to every single one of those states and then get to every single campground within that state. So this is a way to bring everybody on this side of the Rockies together in one location. So, yeah.
And I think the great thing about it too is even though you're calling it the Western States, anybody can come to this. So if you're in New York and you want to come, so have you picked a location yet? I mean, I know the answer, but I'm just kind of setting you up. What's the location?
I have. It's going to be March. It'll start March 31st through April 2nd in Reno, Nevada.
Oh,
so
great.
2025 in Reno. Yeah.
Great. I'll be sure to bring my 1-800 if you got a gambling problem phone number with me. So.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Even have it on speed dial. So no, I think it's going to be awesome. I talked to you a lot about this, and I'm excited to help you out with it and do anything that Supplier Spot can do and be part of the show. Me being in Colorado, I think it's great. Being with that previous company, I had the opportunity of traveling pretty much all over the country, which I don't even know if you remember, but when I was out at your show in Sacramento, I flew from Sacramento to Portland, Maine in one
Right.
day. So
Right.
yeah, and that was just a cool experience because I've never been to these places. So I'm excited that there's a Western side, especially in Colorado, because it's easier flight for me to get from like Colorado to Reno than it is for me to get to Portland, Maine. So
Sure.
no, I think it's a great idea.
Well, and we are going to be doing, I had so many compliments on our reservation software event,
Mm-hmm.
that it was well attended. The the software participants really liked it. They loved the setup.
Yeah.
So I'll be doing that again as kind of an opener to the show. So I would love to have those software companies want
Mm-hmm.
to get involved in that because I think it's going to be a really good kickoff to the
Yeah.
event. And again, it's bringing in, owner operators from all over the place. So I think it'll be a great informational tool as well. We will have a supplier prospectus going out really soon. But the most important thing to know is that any current CalOHA supplier partners, so anybody who's a supplier partner in 2024, will get priority registration and discounted registration. So if you're not a current supplier partner, they should probably consider joining super quick before the year's out and they don't get that priority registration.
Yep. So I just went to the website and showed them where they can go, membership, join the alliance. So yeah, I think that's a great idea to be a member. And me, I like to be a member on all associations because I know it's just more me supporting them, and of course I get support back. So I think that's great that you're doing it with associations. But even though if they're not a member association right now, they can still get into the show if they become a member, and then they get in the show. They'll just be now. What exactly does the priority mean? Does that mean they like get to pick their booth space first? Is that how it's working, or have you even thought about
Not
that yet?
necessarily, but we have limited space, right? Limited number of
Oh,
booths.
okay.
So the CalOHA members will get in first.
Okay.
And then if there is booth space left over after that, we will open it up. Any other suppliers are welcome to join as a 2025 member of CalOHA
Okay.
and then register for the show as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I know I already mentioned at the beginning of this show when we first started talking about the layout you did for the software panel on the company I worked for. We were one of them, and I loved it. Actually, I even recorded that software panel, and I did that just for my own benefit. I was just doing it so I could go back and look at it for my own benefit. But I know you and a couple other people were like, "Hey, can I get a copy of that?" I was like, "Oh yeah, sure." So I just put it together and threw it on the internet. I know there was one time the battery was dying, so I had to plug in the power cord to it, so the camera was all moving. I put a little title on there: "Battery was dying, had to plug in power," so you don't think I'm messing up the camera. But it was great to be a part of that, and I love the setup how you had it. So any software companies out there, and I know software is always seems like it's one of the biggest topic at these shows. Because these campground owners really want a software that's efficient for them. I spent 2 years with that company learning all this, and I really got a good handle on it, I believe. So yeah, I'm excited for the show. And here it is, July, and pretty soon it's going to be March, and
it is.
We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what else needs to be out there. I'll help promote it for you as well. And supplier spot is going to be a big part of that show, which I'm looking forward to. And I think the great thing about what you're doing is you're not necessarily trying to just compete with all these other shows and be like that person that says, "Oh, great, another show we have to go to." I just think it's like you have this need in a certain region of the area, and it's nice to have something like the 11 states saying, "Hey, this is a show for you guys, but anybody can come to it." Like Wisconsin or Tennessee, anybody from the parks want to come out to Reno in March, which I don't know what the weather's like there in March. I mean, I guess it could be sunny or it could be snowy, right? So.
Could be either. Could be all over the place. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that because somebody did ask me recently, well, are you trying to compete with, so-and-so? And I'm like, first of all, I'm not trying to compete with anybody. Yeah. There's people that I wouldn't even try and compete with because they're so good at what they do that I can't compete with them. But that's not it. That's not it at all. It's just that I know that people out here don't tend to go. There are very few that go to these other events.
Yeah.
And they're not going to take the time out of their way. And they want something that's very, very West specific. We are different out here. You live in Colorado. It's a different breed of people, and they want something that really appeals to the West. And so this was just a way to give those states that are sort of neglected in that way an opportunity to come together. And, share their experiences, meet other people, learn something new. So that's all. It's not a competition.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know if Reno. I've never been there before, so I've never been to that airport, so I don't know what it's like in and out of there. But to me, it just seems like if you're in the Western States area, it's going to be much easier to get from your location to Reno than it is from your location to, say, hypothetically anywhere Tennessee or Ohio or something like that. To
Right.
me, it seems like so. Yeah, I'm excited for you. Like I told you from the day one that you told me about this at the glamping show last year, I was like, let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, I'll be your biggest cheerleader, Diana, because I'm all about trying new things and innovation. And granted, I've only been in the industry for like about 2 years on this side. I've been an avid camper my whole life, have a fifth wheel, boat, all that stuff. I've just learned so much in this 2 years about what this industry's like. And I just think people want something that works for them. And that's kind of why I developed Supplier Spot. And I think that's what you're doing with this Western States show. So
Yeah, and I am happy to have you join us and be one of my sponsors and promote the event.
Yeah.
And you keep saying, let me know how I can help, but you might want to be careful of that because you could be, putting yourself in a bad situation.
Not at all. I mean, if
No,
I
the
can't
event,
do something, I'll let you know. I'll be like, I can't pull this one off, but I'll try with something else. So,
and this event, I'm just the hostess with the mostest. This is actually being facilitated by an event planner. Her name is Michelle Biersner, and she does all of the events for the RV Industry Association. So she has she's familiar with our industry. She is an experienced event planner. She's the one, facilitating everything. It was just my idea, really. So yeah.
Well, that's great. I
It's
mean,
going to be a great show.
yeah, anytime you have an event planner come in that already has done shows like this, it makes everything go smoothly. I mean, I told you off camera with my DJ business, I started helping organize bridal shows, and man, that's a smaller scale because we were just doing for our little town, our little city. But it's a lot of work. But it's something that keeps me moving forward. I love trying to innovate and try new things, and really get a lot of information out to the owners. And I know I already talked to you a little bit about a lot of the stuff that I can bring to campground parks. Just with the stuff that I've done in my life, like trivia we talked about, bingo, all electronic, karaoke, as we already talked about. There's things like that these park owners can take back that are entertaining for their campers. Because I'm an entertainer. I mean, that's why I started my DJ business. And I know when I go camping, and of course you have those one campers like, hey, I just want to sit here and fish, don't bother me. But then you got the other ones who have kids like, hey, let's go play bingo, and it's raining right now. Let's go, do karaoke or something. So that's why I'm glad that I'm part of this with you, and hopefully we'll have some workshops to help campground owners know that there's other things you can bring to your campground that doesn't cost a lot of money and a lot of fun to do with your campers.
It's funny that you mentioned that because we used to have a place in Shasta up here in Northern California, and we used to go to the Lakeshore Inn, and they had a bingo night.
Oh, nice.
And my son, who works for me, who's now 25, still remembers the night that he won like $38,
Oh, nice.
like 8 years old, right? And $38, he was rich. So it is a lot of fun, and it does, some of those things really create memories for the campers and things that they remember for a lifetime. So very cool.
And the system I use, I really like it. I've actually been in touch with the actual CEO and developer. It's a software company based out of UK, and they started it for like their little UK pubs and grills and stuff. And now they've moved into the US, and they're not that big yet, but I contacted him directly and said, hey, I'm doing this with campgrounds and parks. What are your thoughts? He's like, I love it. So the cool thing I like about the bingo, and the thing I love most about it is it's all electronic. So you don't have to get pencils and cards and all that stuff for your people. All you got to do is have them bring their phone. They download the app. They connect to what's called the server, to your software on the laptop, and boom, you're off and running. And they could do it for money. They could just do it for like store prizes, or if they have a little cafe or snack bar, they can do it for prizes for that. Like if we do stuff like at your show, it could be prizes that suppliers donate, and we promote that supplier and say, hey, if you win this round, so-and-so is going to give you this for your park or your campground or something like that. So there's a lot of cool things we can do with it. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, is of course promoting Supplier Spot, but more importantly, promoting your programs, promoting parks and campgrounds and things like that. So I'm excited for it.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm excited.
Great. Well, thanks, Diana, for being on. I really do appreciate it. This has been a great conversation. So when it gets closer, like maybe in the fall timeframe, we'll do another podcast. We'll talk about all the details that has to do with the Western States Summit. So
that'd be great. I appreciate it, Bobby. Thank you.
Thanks, Diana. Right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Supplier Spot Spotlight. Keep shining bright in the RV, park, and campground outdoor hospitality industry. Stay tuned for more illuminating conversations with industry experts. Until next time, enjoy the great outdoors.